All right, roll call.
Selgrave.
Present.
White.
Present.
Smith.
Present.
Rosca. Voice.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak should come to the lectern and state your name and address for the record. No one present. Next. Need a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda. Motions?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. We have approval of claims, approval of minutes of the prior meetings, January 2025 financial report, resolution setting public hearing for electric rate, resolution setting public hearing for water rate, resolution setting public hearing for telecommunications rate, resolution approving 69 kV line relay replacement project pay app number 1, resolution approving downtown underground conversion project West Alley premise wiring payment application number 2, resolution approving salary. Just for clarity, when we say salary, we're talking about the study only, or?
No, they're in your packet.
My full time.
You did not read your packet.
It's first new hire.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, sorry. Check. All right, roll call.
Selgrave.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Voice.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, electric utility action items. Need a simple motion to approve the Turbine 8 control project certificate of completion.
So moved.
Second.
Any?
Yep, so discussion on that, this was put on the agenda in hopes that they would have everything ready to go for us and complete. They are not quite completed with everything as far as some reports and things, so my recommendation would be to deny it at this time, and then we'll bring something back to you in the future.
Okay.
So can we just rescind the motion, or how do you recommend doing that?
Best to vote no.
Vote, just vote no.
All right. Selgrave.
No.
White.
No.
Smith.
No.
Voice.
No.
Thank you.
All right. Need a first and second motion to approve the resolution approving bid for transmission pole replacement. Roll call.
Motion.
Motion.
Motion first. I'll move.
Second.
Voice. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
this is, this will be to replace 6 transmission poles on our transmission line. We went out for bid and got 3 contractors to return bids and felt they were good. We'll supply all the material for the project.
Is this just poles that?
Poles that part of our annual inspection we go through and see that
Okay.
need to be replaced, so, yep.
Is this the same as what we approved for the pay app up above?
No, that's the relay project that's going on in the, at the substations.
Okay.
It's a line item we have in the capital budget every year to replace so many poles.
Roll call.
Yes. Selgrave.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Voice.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. We need a first and second motion to approve the resolution to authorize a handwritten warrant to Midland Title and Escrow in the amount not to exceed $451,000.
So moved. Second.
All right, we are, our intention is to close tomorrow, but we are racing through some last minute problems. We're getting some easement clarifications, and our attorney advised us to not move forward until we get this easement clarified. We're working with the city to see what was approved via the resolution back in 1994, so it's taking a little bit of time. Hopefully we'll get something soon, but the gentleman from the seller is going to be going on vacation on the 12th. So if we don't get this done tomorrow, it'll probably be 2 weeks before we do it.
So you still want us to approve it now, and it's just a matter of time, not that it's not gonna happen. Right?
Correct. Every indication is, this is just a matter of time that they're still willing to sell it and want to get moving as soon as possible. This is just getting us the ability to write the check when we're ready to close.
Motion?
Celebrate.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Need a first and second motion to approve the resolution approving purchase of diesel fuel.
So moved.
Second.
So this is the, we allow so much money to replace diesel at our turbines every year. There's $160,000 in that budget right now. We're looking at spending $130,000, and then $30,000 will go towards the RO, which I'll give you an update on that here in a minute during the update, the utility information update. Kind of give you an idea, we'll be looking at purchasing about just under 52,000 gallons of diesel fuel, about 7 tanker loads. And the reason I bring this to you before is kind of remember is when we get the bid back, we pretty much have to tell them yea or nay because of date point pricing. So
Roll call?
Yes, Celebrate.
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Thank you.
Electric utility informational items?
yep, so I'll start with the additional 30,000 off at the RO system. We've been doing some investigating on how we want to go about replacing the water for turbine 8. I've got some information on that. So we looked at having that tankered in. You're looking at about 24 loads of water that would take, and it would almost be a little over $68,000 worth of water to go that route. So that's my least favorite. The other option was to rent a unit for 30 days. You're looking at about $9,000, plus we've got no matter, is this option and the next option, from that point, there's still some additional costs that we've got to incur there. We've got to run some piping and some things like that on the tank to be able to get the water into the tank. So to rent one for 30 days, if we can get it done in 30 days, is about $9,000. To purchase the unit itself, just like the rental piece, we're looking at just a little over $17,000 just to purchase one, and we'd have it available. I was hoping the rental was going to be a little cheaper and we could go that route, but at this point, we're going to burn 20,000 gallons of water at least a year. We may not have to run it every year, but easily in 2 to 3 years' time, we've got the unit, and then if we happen to start running more often in the summer or whatever, we've got the unit sitting there. So my recommendation that I'm going to probably bring back to you is we'll finish getting a bids put together to purchase a system that we would install out there at the turbine. So
Do we have that in your budget?
that's part of the 160,000 of the fuel. We allowed money, we kind of grouped it into the fuel, that we got to have the water and the fuel together.
I know you said this, Mike, but what was the purchase price of that?
It's the purchase price of just the RO systems is about a little over 17,000.
Okay.
The other thing we've got to do is, and we're looking at, is we've got to have something to house that in. So we're looking at like a shipping container that's got mini split or something like that in, so we can heat it and cool it type of deal when we're needing to run it. But
Can't just sit outside.
yep. So yep. Yep. And then kind of back on that 69 relay project that did begin today. That's where we're updating the relays in the East Iowa sub. As a reminder, we're being radio fed into Indianola right now from our Patterson line. We are the contractor is trying to get the relay that takes care of the transmission line that comes in from the east side from Mid-American. He's trying to get that to where we can make that operational first. We may not be able to see it through our SCADA, but try to get it up so we've got some redundancy built back in. To kind of give you an idea, we've allowed for 3 weeks for this. We're hoping that it doesn't take that long, but that's what we got that scheduled for.
Could weather impede that, or
What's that?
if the weather came up and was bad again, would that impede that?
Yeah, I mean, if we'd lose our Patterson line, we'd be in the dark, at least until we can get turbine 7 up and running, and then we'd have to evaluate how much load Anticipate we'd have to bring feeders on one at a time to see how much we could do. Worst case scenario, if it got really warm, we may have to roll feeders where somebody's on for so long that we'd have to shut another feeder off and rotate them through. Hopefully we don't get to that point, but
Yeah. Who knows,
It's-
the weather's so crazy.
you don't know. Right now, the weather looks fairly decent except for Friday. I think there's chances of some storms with some high winds Friday and Saturday, but we had high winds today as well, so. Then we're also working on and this is hard for me, I call it IUB for years, the IUC, Iowa Utilities Commission. We're doing those annual inspections, which is part of the 10-year plan that we approved here a couple months ago as far as how we do our maintenance. We've also got crews working to start getting ready on the Quick Star up there in the Summercrest project. We got some pretty deep projects. Got some stuff that's 10 feet down that we've got to go after to get tied into it. We'll be doing that this week. And then we're back up on the square now. We're finishing up on the northwest and north side to get the wires energized. We'll be bringing back pretty soon to be able to go out for bids to have electricians to do that work. So that'll be coming soon, and then hopefully in a couple weeks we'll be tearing out concrete in the southeast part of the square, kind of behind Krause's, Mishmash, down in that area is where we're going to start tearing out for this year. It's warming up
Done
there.
again.
What's that?
When will we be done?
Well, so hopefully our hope is we have all the conduit in by the end of the summer on the downtown square total. It's just,
I'll believe it when I see it.
well, I hope so. I hope so. So far, the goals that we've set out every
No,
year.
I'm not saying
No, I
that at all.
know. We've seemed to hit every goal, maybe be a little bit ahead of the schedule. But I agree. We're ready to move on to something else.
Something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you ought to get into your capital projects this year
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
for
Yeah.
IMU.
Right. Yep. That's all I have.
Okay. Water utility action items. We need a simple motion to approve the authorization for Warren Water District to serve a customer within their territory upon proper notice to IMU, since the customer is within 2 miles of the IMU territory located at 15717 Illinois Street. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Anything?
I don't really know yet.
Okay. Voice vote?
Aye, Stace?
I,
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye. Probably messed that up, didn't I?
And we're good. We got the vote, that's what counts.
All right, water utility informational items.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. Last meeting I said that the filter work was gonna start this week. They showed up today and, should have one filter done today, or half of it done today, finish it up tomorrow. And then we gotta let it sit to do all of our bacteria testing and stuff like that. If stuff goes as planned, when they come back, they'll take 2 down next time and hopefully try to move it a little quicker. But they are projected to be done in the 4-week time frame, so it'd be good before we get to our peak season of water. Met with our engineer on Friday. Hopefully here in the next couple weeks, I'll be bringing a couple projects in for approval on those. And then this week we'll start isolating water valves to so we can fix valves that are broke. So we can make sure that they work and get those fixed.
do you have a list of broken valves, or are you just anticipating?
I think we're up to about 8 valves. And a lot of them are in the concrete, so we're gonna try to tackle the ones that we can that are in the parking and eliminate the concrete right now, because as of now, we have 6 pourbacks to do just from the main breaks we've had this winter, so I'd like to try getting some of those put back before we tear out more.
Communications informational items.
Yeah, I don't have a lot either. It's pretty much business as usual, though with the weather changing, we are gonna go out and start getting temp drops in the ground, so. Flagging those this week, call in locates later this week, and hopefully Alberta will be in next week to get half of them in. I think we got about 50 on the ground, so hopefully first week or second week in April, we'll have everything buried again. So that's kind of our focus right now.
Are we doing that, or are we having a contractor?
Contractor still comes in, yeah, it's still a drop, so, yeah. At this point, we may take a look at that in next fiscal year about where we're at. We're starting to slow down, where it might get to a point where we can handle those, so, but
I think that'd be good.
we'll see how it goes, so.
Support that cost.
Yeah.
Combined electric, water, and communications informational items.
Don't have anything terribly exciting. Definitely worked a lot on our exempt session items. We'll update you on that during that. At our next meeting, we will have our reliability report. It kind of ties into that 10-year maintenance program that Mike talked about earlier. And that's an annual thing. It's due the 1st of April for last year. Again, met all of our requirements for that. Then it'll be time to review that and approve that at the next meeting.
So the legislation, you want to talk to us a little bit about that and conversations?
Yeah, so I went up a couple weeks ago now, the week of our last meeting, to speak specifically about the Senate Study Bill 1117. To give, there was obviously a lot of lobbyists there, and everyone had their particular take on it. But I spoke on behalf of both IAMU and the League of Cities, just from a utility perspective, on what putting a cap of 2% on our utility rates would mean. Specifically to that one, it goes on to our ability to address capital concerns, because that unfortunately, operationally would be the first thing that we'd need to cut. And if we were limited in that, what our first steps and second steps, and eventually, we get to reliability and DNR type of concerns. They appreciated the feedback. That legislation as well, it was proposed by the same gentleman as 1115, which is the sale of the utilities that we talked about a little earlier. I spoke with some of the House staff, some of the committee members on that for those topics, and they assured me that they weren't going to move forward, or they didn't expect to move forward until it passed through the House. And given that it wasn't going to make it, or until it passed through the Senate, sorry, given that it wasn't going to make it, nobody expected it to go through the funnel. So that is dead for this year.
Do you have a sense for what their goal was? I mean,
price caps and price controls. They talked a lot about a combination of year-over-year increases. I think particular interest was sewer. Water goes along with that. They've got a lot of concerned residents that are seeing their rates increase 5-6%, annually for a number of years, and looking a way to limit that.
but did they address within that how we could keep capital projects alive with that kind of?
No, I think that's the fundamental problem with that, and as I spoke to it, my biggest concern would be none of our input costs are limited to 2%. Justin just gave me some great news about the cost of putting water main in. That's now up to $200,000. Just 3 years ago, we were budgeting 110. That certainly has exceeded the 2%. And if my top end's limited to 2%, how do I keep accomplishing the same stuff with, and they're necessary stuff. This isn't optional stuff that we're talking about, repairing. If our revenues are capped, how do we keep pace with 20% construction inflation when revenues capped at 2%?
So it does seem though, as though we just really need to stay engaged so we can keep informing.
Absolutely, the engagement is critical. You know, in the talks, we didn't necessarily address this in the legislative meeting for the 117. But there are other bills for all the other items, stormwater recycling, you know, that they're going across the board on municipal. I don't know what those limits for those proposed bills are. You know, this one was 2% and didn't make it through. I don't know what next year's will look like, but they do appear to want to try to tackle all municipal utilities, and so we should see these from, you know, likely see versions of these for all the different, you know, water, sewer, you know, everything, and until they're satisfied, I think they'll keep trying at different versions of that or something that can get through.
So did you feel like our representatives were open to listening to your opinions and kind of information?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were engaged, and, you know, to the extent, particularly on the House side, that they hadn't really taken it up in earnest, you know, that they were aware of this and would certainly be in touch if this does materialize for any additional feedback. But like I said, in my opinion, it will definitely come back, maybe in a little different version next year, but so it'll, for the foreseeable future, it'll be a concern we need to keep an eye on.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have other business. Following this meeting, joint session with City of Indianola at Council Chambers, 110 North 1st Street in Indianola. But I believe are we able to, prior to that, do our first closed session here?
Yep.
Yeah, I just included that on the agenda so that it was very obvious that that's where we would be traveling to. If any of you are interested, I do have the printed version of their packet.
Okay, so before we move on to that, are there any things from an IUMU perspective that have been raised that you want to make sure that we're aware of before we go into the joint discussion? I mean, I looked through the packet, it seemed pretty straightforward.
I mean, I guess it's important to know, we budgeted around kind of a status quo or no change type of budget. I think this has been kind of the theme for the past couple of years. We have sufficient reserves, and this may be the first year that we saw a year-over-year decrease. I think it's going to be close. And so we're not anywhere near kind of the $1 million objective, I guess I'll call it. You know, my best guess at a good reserve is, yeah, best guess at a reserve is, you know, at the 1 million mark.
Today we're sitting at what, 2.6?
Today it's at 2.6, and that'll probably grow before June. You know, we just came into January and all the deductibles reset, so typically, you know, that comes out of
I have ideas that I will bring to the table.
Well, and just
I don't know if they'll fly, but I'm gonna bring them up.
Just quickly, so Adam had a couple questions, and some are for Holmes Murphy, and she will address those in the joint meeting. But then one of the questions was, what is the projected fund balance at the end of the fiscal year? And Jackie did respond. She is expecting it to end up around 2.675 million at the end of the fiscal year. So this may not be a relevant question, and I don't know, I certainly wouldn't bring it up there, but with all of the news about where the city is at from a funding perspective, will that play in this conversation?
Yeah.
And do we need to be positioned as a group to be able to stand to whatever position we're taking with that?
The comments I'm planning to make are actually gonna be helpful to the city in that regard. But, and maybe you guys know this, like one of the ideas as I was looking through this is it only health insurance that goes through the fund? Dental, vision do not?
Right,
Is that correct?
she also answered that question. There's a small admin fee for the vision insurance that comes out of that fund, but
Okay.
other than that, no dental or vision expenses.
Are there restrictions on the use of that fund that we can't do dental and vision through there also?
So there's a resolution stating acceptable uses for that fund, and I think they're health related, so I'm not sure how it's exactly worded.
That's what I wondered,
But
like
that would be
dental,
something-
dental and vision for sure are I would think sufficiently health-related. The other ones, the long-term disability, short-term disability, and life insurance, that probably gets more questionable.
Certainly something that they could, you know,
I just think we need to think a little more even outside of the box than we've been thinking about the usage of that reserve that continues to grow even though we're
Right,
doing
we keep talking about, we wanna make
things.
it
Yeah.
start to decrease, and we never hit that goal.
And I also question too, like just the mismatch between our history. We have 4 years of very consistent, in my opinion, very, very consistent history. And Walmart continues to estimate significantly higher, and we never come in close to their estimates. On average, we're like 30-some% below where they're estimating.
Don't you suppose they're just using standard formulas though?
Yeah, but to me, that's something that Holmes Murphy should be addressing. They should be able to recalculate
Based on
what Holmes
experience.
Murphy is doing and see what assumptions they're using that are going into why they're going so much higher. So that's a question I have for Holmes Murphy.
Yeah, the Wellmark related ones, they have to do with the ag excess and spot insurance stuff. They do use, the Wellmark uses their book of business for averages and determining those particular levels. So those levels are set from industry averages. But the good news, I guess, is our book of business, the city and IMU are substantially better than, which I think has always historically been the case, even back, kind of down to the 90s, that, I don't know, just typically healthier than an average group, and, they want to use their books of business for a lot of things that I think kind of fail us in determining those, and I think that'll be a good topic to discuss.
That's where Holmes Murphy should come in and do their job by pushing Walmart on those things. That Walmart has the ability to use different assumptions, and Walmart, to me, as part of their job, should be pushing Walmart to look at that.
Seems like a fair question. So other than that, we're pretty much face value for what we're gonna want to.
Yeah, status quo. I mean, our expectations are leave everything flat. I think there'll be a minor change with regard to the dental. That's a cost savings, moving to Delta Dental Vision.
I thought in the documentation they were flipped. One, it said vision and it was actually the.
It is Delta Dental though. They do vision insurance
They really?
also.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
your
confusing.
vision card will say Delta Dental
Okay.
on it.
Okay.
That I think is a good enhancement. There's mild changes in the deductibles, but it's kind of a more robust benefit package for a cheaper price, so I think there's
And
no reason
then
not to
from
select
the
that.
holiday for the premiums, are we gonna recommend what we did again from the past?
I think so. We're
July and December.
Yeah, at the end of probably June and December, give
That
that the
works,
end of the
yeah.
year.
Do we expand that?
That's what I heard.
It's a possibility. I think, particularly this year, if the city saw the opportunity to see a reduction in their health insurance premiums that they could apply back to the budget, I think they're far more receptive this year than they, have in the past. So I think it's a worthy suggestion.
What would you recommend though? Would you want a quarter?
I was thinking leave it at June, but then do October, November, and December. Yeah. But that's just
Yeah.
my,
And grouping them like that from a financial perspective is better, or would you spread them out through the year?
good question. You can answer this if you feel differently, but from IMU and the city's perspective, I don't know that timing matters a whole lot. It might help the employees, because we're using the employees to, but that's why I'm suggesting October, November, December is, saving money for holidays.
Then we pay taxes in March.
Wholly self-serving. I'll say this so Chris doesn't have to, but wholly for payroll purposes, we go in and make the change to take them out there.
Yeah.
If we could leave them for 3 months
Yep.
or 2 months and come back.
Yep.
That's fair, I mean,
I concur.
Administratively, it needs to factor into those too, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's not the biggest decision point, but, you know, if you're considering ratably throughout the year or pairing them up with a couple of months, it might save Angie a few minutes, she'll like it.
so if we did do 3 additional, what kind of savings was that ballpark off the top of your head?
Last year, the number, this is last year's numbers, and I'll let Chris update me with the correct one. The total between the city and IMU is 110,000, with IMU being about 35,000 of that amount.
That's for 2 months or 1 month?
1 month.
Okay.
And so,
If you took that times 5,
yeah, took that for
Or 6,
whatever
45.
multiple you want out of there.
Yeah, we're doing 2 now, what I suggested is 2 more. But not to say we couldn't do 3 more.
I just misinterpreted. So, thank you, that helps me go into that, because I felt like I was kind of going in cold. So it helps to have a little background.
And it's $110,000, but if it went up by 5, you know, with city
Yeah.
hiring stuff, it's possible.
Yeah, I was, ballpark's perfect, gives me a sense.
Anything else? All right, at this time, I need a first and second motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
You have to read the whole thing.
It is speed meeting.
It's on the other page. Enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code 21.51J. To discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price of the governmental body would have to pay for the property or reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property. Need a simple motion to own that?
We need a roll call, sorry, for the enter.
Roll call to enter into.
Yes, please. Selgren,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Voight.
Yes.
Thank you, you are in closed session.